Hello. East Asia keeps huge importance in India's foreign policies, which is, I quote, look east, unquote. We all know that religious paths like Hinduism and Buddhism spread from India to East Asia. But that's not the only thing. Do we know? The most striking and phenomenal thing that spread was also the sense of art and aesthetics along with the traditional Indian textile designs. This video is about this barely known fact of history, the transmission of Indian textile and design prints to East Asia, which became a stamp of fashion there in the royal families, business class, and common people. So, watch this video and subscribe to channel.
Hello, good evening. I welcome you all on behalf of Indology Foundation in collaboration with SNDT Women's University Mumbai and Sinhagad Institute Pune. The speaker of our program today is Dr. Padmini Balram, and I'm very much honored to introduce her for this today's program. Ma'am has done her PhD, and the major topic was movement of textiles and textile motifs between India, China, and Japan. Ma'am has 30 years experience of national and international teaching. She is visiting faculty at various institutes in India and overseas. I now request Dr. Balram ma'am. Today she is going to speak on transmission of Indian textile to China and Japan, a reflection of connected South Asia. Thank you. Ma'am, over to you.
Yeah,
Balram
thank
ma'am.
you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. I thank Japan. I thank Indology Foundation and then also SNDT University and all the collaborators. And I will try to speak about this transmission of Indian textiles to East Asia. Covering this topic is pretty vast, so I will try to make as much as possible because this is basically my work starting from 1976 onwards. So it's gone kind very in very many different projects and all that it includes. Now I will start with this. The photograph that you see in the title page is actually from Kojima Mandala, and this mandala went from India with Buddhism. And this Kojima Mandala is a special mandala which is in Kojima Dera Temple in Japan. And this is done on indigo dyed silk with pure painted using pure silver and gold. And I was lucky in 1996 to visit Nara National Museum where there was a special exhibition. And this is from the pamphlet that they kind of have of Kojima Dera Temple exhibition. This is the renovated piece because silver in the original piece had gone, renovated in the sense remade piece, and original one, silver, had become very black. So it was not visible. So that's one influence that India had on Japan and China and Japan and as well as Korea, that is bypassing Buddhism. And there are so many. Oh, I don't know what happened. It's not going next. So this presentation is based, as I said, from my project starting from 1976 to 2019. Basically, it was my research on kalamkari that led me into the work in natural indigo, and then Indian indigo and its use led me to the work in natural dyes. And then DC Handicrafts gave me an opportunity to document natural dyes of 16 tribes of Northeast India. And while doing my field research in Japan, Japan Foundation Fellowships in 1995, 96, 2006, 2007, 2019. I found a lot of influence of Indian textiles on Japan. Then Asia Scholarship Foundation Fellowship helped me to find out similarities among 16 Indian tribes of Northeast and 16 ethnic minorities of Southwest China, both using natural indigo and other some of them are also using natural dyes. Then both of these led me to my PhD thesis on movement of textiles and textile motifs between India, China, and Japan. And I also got NTICVA 2014-15 fellowship for more study research grant, which where I talked about direct and indirect influences on Indian chins, textiles on Basarasa of Japan. Now these are important Indian textiles in world. In the world of textiles, India was famous for its cotton, fast, multicolored, dyed, painted, and printed textiles, while China was more in brocades. And I mean, this is based on my thesis. Then very few people know that although Indian cottons were most famous and rare, ancient India was also producing textiles using silk, wool, and bast fibers, which are like from bark of the plants, such as jute and linen, and etc. Because people think those were made in Europe, but it is not true that they were already made in India before. The transmission of Indian textiles. Early evidence of Indian textiles from Indus Valley civilization. The famous statue of priest king from the Mohenjo-daro provides the earliest evidence of surface design and draped garments from Indian subcontinent. He is draped. He is seen draping a cloth with trefoil design, and he has also tied a band around his forehead. Pattern is almost most probably embroidered or on a pre-woven cloth. Embroidered on a woven cloth, or maybe it's woven, but most probably it is embroidered. Then one second, I went. Okay. So what is great? That is sorry. I seem to have escaped. Huh. So okay. Cotton cultivation and export of cotton cloth from Indus Valley was taking place. So renowned scholar Moti Chandra has mentioned that in the third millennium and second millennium before Christ, that is BCE, there was a trade between Baluchistan and Sindh across the sea. In Babylonian and Assyrian literature, the Sindhu was a kind of cloth which, according to Herodotus, was common in Egypt, Levant, and Babylonia. Herodotus calls this cloth as synklon. You see, whenever any terms that go into any cloth is exported, the names don't remain same. Even the port's name change according to the pronunciations of that particular language. So they could have called synklon, and that's the reason why sometimes to compare things become difficult. So Sindhu was manufactured in Sindh, according to Moti Chandra and others, and direct relationship with Sumer was established when merchants of South Baluchistan, about 2300 BC, these trade passed it into the hands of the merchants of Harappa. So then Harappa means Mohenjo-daro, Indus Valley civilization started directly trading with them, with Sumer and all. So then, but people like Kennedy and others were opposing this view that according to them, Sindhu was Sindhan manufactured from some vegetable fiber and it was not Indian cotton textiles. Now, this was Now, there is a very good evidence for this. In excavations as Mohenjo-daro, an actual piece of cotton has been discovered, which shows that cotton was known to people of Sindh 1,500 years back. So naturally, this particular cloth, which is known as Sindhu, was exported from Sindh. In civilization during that time, a woven and madar dyed cloth, cotton fragment in a silver pot, and figures draped with patterned cloth given as well as the given spindles and all that, which are found at Mohenjo-daro, which are carbon dated 3000 BCE. This proves that Indians manufactured cotton as well as modern dyed patterned textiles using metal. In Sanskrit, it is called Manjishta during Indus Valley civilization. That is so many years back, more than around 5,000 years back from today. Now, what is so special about cotton? What is so special and what is so great in modern dyeing? So, renowned Japanese scholar Yoshioka Sachio comments it better. What he says is strong, washable, and warm cotton is one of the world's most useful fibers. However, in ancient times, there was one drawback. Vegetable pigments only yielded colors of indigo, brown, or dull yellow, making it impossible patterns in variety of colors. By the first century, the technology of dyeing cotton in red, purple, and other beautiful colors had evolved in India. It is astonishing to realize at that time in chemistry, in history, a chemical process had already been developed and was widely employed in India. So Ushiko Sachio's comment has placed modern dyeing in India much later in first century CE, but as seen in it had started in India around 3000 BCE, 5000 years from today, and India was pioneer in starting it when many present day developed countries did not exist. A cotton exported from India to Mesopotamia. References to trade with Assyria, which earlier slide also showed, dates back to late at least century BCE. Indian cotton was one of the term items. It is confirmed from the fact that Assyrian king Sennacherib 1 BC had planted cotton in his garden. Plant might have been presented from India to him. So this is Assyria was a Mesopotamian kingdom, and you can see the map. This is Egypt. Of course, in Egypt also you found. I will show you later some slides. Lot of indigo and Indian textiles were found from the tombs of Egypt, and this is the Assyria. So textile trade of India, uh, textile trade on India of Indus civilization. During Mohenjo-daro period, brightly colored cotton clothes was a desirable item since few people of that time knew how to grow cotton and how to dye bright as well as fast colors using natural dyes. People of Indus Valley civilization traded with Afghanistan, Persia, Deccan Plateau, and were carrying out far distance sea trade with Mesopotamia, Sumer, etc. Indus Valley trade was at its peak between 2600 BCE, continued until 1800 BCE. As per Narayan, printed textiles from India, which later came to be known as chins, were one of the earliest Indian textiles found abroad. So entries of Aryans in India, people actually when Aryans came to India, that time most of the commerce of countries of merchants of Indus Valley culture and Baluchistan. So Indus Valley civilization was not a civilization which was started by Aryans. It was believed that at that time people whom they called Dravid were staying in Indus Valley civilization and they were thrown out by Aryans, so they went to south. Indian textiles were famous in the world. From the very beginning of Roman Empire, the price of Indian goods was settled in Roman gold coins. Indigo was used as the color, cotton clothes were used as articles of wear. India exported cotton textiles to Rome from very ancient time. During period of Kushan Emperor Kanishka, Indian trade with Roman Empire flourished. Varanasi was very famous for its silk. People think silk came from China. Silk was already there and very well known in India. Varanasi was very famous for its silk, and the merchants of Banaras dealt in this commodity. The muslins of Banaras, people think muslins is only from Dhaka. The muslins of Banaras was so fine that it could not absorb oil. The body of Buddha was shrouded in this cloth. So when Buddha existed, 5th century BC, already muslins were there, made in Varanasi. Multicolored textiles from Gujarat and Coromandel coast were most famous world over. This is Patan Patola. This is Indian chins. These are prayer mats from made in Coromandel coast, which was sold in to Middle East, which was sold to Southeast Asia and Southeast Asia. The Patan Patola were very famous in Indonesia and also went to Japan. Well, chins, which are chins, like they were sold to, there are references in China about flowered cottons of India, which they had seen in during the Gupta period, or sorry, Maurya period. And these textiles were actually nothing but today's chins. Chins is the word which is given to cheat. Gujarati word cheat. I will show you one of the cheat from Gujarat. Now, early indigo dye trade textiles found in Fustat. Now, excavations tell us about, and normally textiles are very rare to be found in excavations because textiles are really, I mean, they degrade. These are found from the tombs and printed in indigo dyed cotton from Gujarat found at Fustat near Cairo. This is from 15th to 16th century, but Fustat textiles range from 9th century to 16th century. Now, this is with collection from Victoria Art But Museum, and this particular textile is multicolored textiles. So there are three types of textiles that we see it Indian textiles found from Fustat, and these textiles were exported to Egypt, and they were very prized textiles, and they were kept in the tombs because they believed that the king tombs of the kings and the queens and the royal family, because they believed that in the tomb they mummified the dead bodies, and they believed that they will get up and they will need to use these things. So all their possessions were kept there using all the items that they use. So these textiles are found there, and there are three types of textiles. They are categorized. One is blue and white cottons, red, blue, and white cottons, and then red, black, and white cottons. So these are the multicolored. First one is red and black blue and white cotton, and second one is multicolored red, black, blue, and white. White is kept over here. The white, both the textiles have the white color achieved by doing resist technique. And there were two types of resist used in India: mud resist as well as wax resist. Wax resist is then later went to Indonesia, which got the name batik. And when Indian ikat went to Indonesia, it got the name, Indian patola went to Indonesia, it got the name ikat. Now, baby first towel is used, this is the Japanese textile, and it has got indigo and bottom, they use it with, and there is a lot of symbolism that comes in every country when you use the same materials and try to make it. So the printed textiles influence this kind of textiles. Then we know from Periplus that the port of Barbaricum near present Karachi in Pakistan exported cotton cloth, silk yarn, and indigo, along with precious gems. A visual reference of indigo dyed textiles, and also the other textiles which are dyed using various natural dyes. Whatever textiles were kind of being made there at that time in India are represented there, including ikat, and then also tie-dye over tie-dye polka dots. And there are many of them, but that's another presentation. We take care of it here. But also, there was striped and checked textiles, brocades made in India. Brocades were also made in India. They were not just China. And many years ago, you can see those brocades being made. And single and double cut textiles, tie-dyed bandanas and wax resist painted or printed textiles, dyed in indigo and other natural dyes. And then India to China and Japan, textiles made by, there are three types of textiles that reach there. Textiles made by minority, there is an influence of that. Then there is trade textiles, and then there are religious textiles. Routes. Now this trade route, people think everything started, all exports started with this Silk Road. No, Silk Road that you can see on top, I don't know whether my mouse is being seen or not, um, uh, was one of the route. But if you see this route, which is going from India to Assam, to Burma, to the southern part of India, was the first route, which was where how the people went to China as well as also went to exported textiles. There was imported of this is a Chinese document says in the 2nd century BC, when Chinese ambassador Chang Qian reached Bactria, he was surprised to see there bamboos imported from China. In reality, bamboos from Unnan reached the middle country through Assam, and from there they were transported to Bactria through Grand Route. But in spite, a Grand Route was earlier than Silk Road. But in spite of this sporadic trade, the northeastern route did not have much. It didn't become very important after Silk Road came, because because it was not very easy to travel with. It was very tough road because going through very harsh terrain and deep jungles and climbing up and down too much onto the mountainous roads. So textiles made by minority, you, because I talked to you about the Assam road. Assam indigo went from India, reached southwest China to Taiwan to indigo of southwest China. I'm, I mean, sorry, Southwest China, sorry, here there is a mistake in typing. Assam indigo of India reached to Southwest China to Taiwan and then to Ryukyu Island. From Taiwan to Indigo to Ryukyu Island, Okinawa in Japan, where it is called as Ryukyu-ai. Ryukyu was a kingdom of which is today called which is it was a separate kingdom than Japan, and it was um, taken by Japanese Satsuma dynasty, and at that time by Satsumas and Satsuma clan, and they kind of conquered Okinawa. I mean that is Ryukyu kingdom, and made it as today it is called Okinawa prefecture. Now, women hold the knowledge of dyeing and weaving among ethnic minorities. It is entire knowledges with women. And China, it is ethnic minorities of India and China. And then these things went to Japan. So Naga women, you can see a first photograph of Naga woman dyeing her in her indigo vat in 1984. This is during my field research sponsored by Development Commissioner Handicrafts to preserve the natural dyes and natural dyed textiles and accessories of Northeast India. Women dyeing her cloth blue in Unnan, China, 2003. This was documented during my Asia Scholarship Foundation Fellowship in 2003. And both these areas are really tough. Travel in Northeast many times. Once I had to climb on, there was floods of Himalayan rivers where there is no water in the previous night. Next day it is such a big flood that you just can't go. The only way was by crossing river on elephant, and there were 6 people, including me, squeezed onto the elephant with all my 5 luggages on my hanging from my shoulders and back, and I had to cross the river, and it was such powerful that if anybody falls inside, they will never be found again. And uh, after the development, after the district commissioner had organized my travel with with a military jeep waiting for me to take me to the next place, like that, I had to change 8 mode of transportation, including elephant and jeep, and then a raft and whatnot, and then I crossed 80 kilometers to reach the nearest spot in Assam to catch my bus to go to Guwahati, and it took me 8 hours and 82 drive. To go through the and 8 mode of transportation to reach 80 kilometers. And this China was, I thought, sorry, China was even worse. At least I didn't have, sorry, in China, sorry, there is some problem. I don't know what happened there. So China was even worse because language, every tribe had different language. I had to take a special permit to go to the borderline areas where I could see, and many times there were no interpreters, and I had to manage it with my very few little bit of Mandarin that I could use, but and speak, but very little it was, and it was very tough. And I was there during the SARS, so there were many things were shutting down, and I had to go back earlier. And still, I managed to cover 16 tribes there. And every time SARS is just COVID, first phase. This is some of the work that I did using indigo, and publications which would help to kind of revive the tradition. The reason I started working on indigo was to preserve the tradition. And this is like experiments carried out to compare and strength of Indian indigo, Assam indigo, and Ryukyu indigo. So you can see three of them. This is on first, above is cotton, below is silk, and how each one of them look. At the same time, same, everything is same. And these are textiles dyed in Okinawa using Ryukyuai Assam indigo. And these are textiles traded from India to Japan during Ryukyu Kingdom and traded by Portuguese. And there were two phases when they were traded. Now, Japan, Okinawa, that I told you, this is Japan map, and this is Japanese mainland, which they call today. And this is where Satsuma kingdom was there, and this is a small part that you see is Okinawa, and that was Ryukyu kingdom. And Okinawa from here, this part you can see top in the right hand side top is the bottom end of Satsuma over here you can see, and then these are all the islands, and here is Taiwan from Yonaguni Jima. It is where you can see the lights of it from the last Okinawa island. And this is main Okinawa where there are a lot of these things. And I traveled to all these islands except Yayamamajima I could reach and for my research. And most of the parts of Japan from Hokkaido to here. And this is Sri Castle of Okinawa painted using lac. And unfortunately, last time in 2019, just before, while I was in Japan, in Kyoto, and just about to catch my flight, a day before that, it got burned down completely, unfortunately. Maybe because it is painted using urushi, which is a lacquer. And in India, Lakshabruva was made to burn Pandavas like Kauravas because Lakshabruva, the lacquer, burns very fast. Kovatari Sarasa, these are Indian textiles for local use and exported to Japan. There are two types of textiles that reached. That is, one is these are chins, these are sarasa, which they are called. Sarasa word comes from Gujarati word saras. Saras means very good, excellent. When Portuguese came, they took it to various countries to Southeast Asia because when they went to buy spices from Southeast Asia, nobody would give them spices. They didn't want to buy anything that Portuguese brought. They wanted to sell their red woolens and things like that. Nobody wanted to buy them. They wanted Indian textiles to barter. That time barter system was going on, majority wise. So they wanted Indian textiles to be bartered. And Ko Vatari Sarasa means textiles, chins, is kalamkari basically, which we call later, actually comes from across the sea. Vatari means crossing. By crossing the sea, whatever textiles came were called Ko Vatari Sarasa. Especially the Sarasa textiles that came in Japan. And this is original Indian textile many years ago it made. And this is cheat from Gujarat. If you see, you can see spotted things at the background of this textile. And it has got, this is block printed and painted or hand painted. Sorry, this is hand painted. And then there is gold jari which is embroidered on it. These are from collections and these are from Kyoto National Museum. Luckily, they had allowed me to photograph it for my research purpose. Now, these are some of the textiles. These are Bengata. which has got influence of Indian chintz on Japanese textiles. And one of the textiles is Bengata from Okinawa. And this might have come during Ryukyu Kingdom when the textiles were bought. Indian textiles came as gifts to many kings from um, uh, China, and they were prized collection because Ryukyu Kingdom had alliance with China, and when China was pleased with any of the kings of the other distinct countries, they would give Indian textiles. And that's what happened with other kings also of East Asia and also Southeast Asia. And this is so that's how the Indian textiles they must have come in contact with starting from 14th century and Bingata. It is believed even Soesu Yanagi, father of Sori Yanagi, who started actually the uh, uh, Nihon Mingekan, Soesu Yanagi started it. That is Japan Craft Museum and started the whole movement of craft movement in Japan. Said that, and these are some of the Bengata, which is multicolored textiles based on Indian colorful bright textiles. And they were used by queens. And this is last time when I went, this is not a Japanese girl, that's Manipuri girls dancing Japanese dance there because of the collaborative program that we had there. I mean, it was at Okinawa, a Haibaru Center, Haibaru Cultural Center had organized it. Saris. In China, when Indian textiles went, the Indian chins went, the chinosaries were made. You can see a Chinese lady taking bath and represented. And these were called in India palampo. What is palam? I mean, when they took it, the British and I mean Portuguese and all, they called them palampo. The word comes from palang posh. Palang posh means the bed cover. And it was called Palampur, and then these are the ones which became so much in craze and demand in Europe that the chinosaries, they were called chinosaries because of the motifs are Chinese. I mean, they were made for Chinese market. I mean, motifs in the sense means there is a Chinese lady sitting there. You will find some bamboos and things like that. So that's why they were called chinosaries patterns. And these are, as I told you, uh, um, these are the two types of main textiles, patola and this. And then now I will talk to you about illustrated manuscripts. Illustrated manuscripts in India several years ago, and these are some of the folios. And this is Jain folio. This is Gita Govinda from Hinduism. It is showing Krishna and Gopikas. And then very important, this textile, these Hansa textiles are found even in Egypt and also in Indonesia, starting from 9th century to 15th century, 16th, I mean, several centuries, you know. I mean, I haven't put that here. Uh, this is the illuminated manuscript. This is from Korea, but similar ones are also from Japan and China. And these illuminated manuscripts were done, and basically they are done on indigo dyed paper, and then this manuscript is kind of used for writing and illustrating pious texts such as Buddhist sutra, and also to paint Buddhist mandala in China, Korea, and Japan. You saw also Buddhist mandala on textile, but they were also painted on paper. And this particular one is the front piece of Avatamasaka Sutra, showing scene in paradise, and this is from Goryeo Dynasty, Korea, middle 14th century CE, Hoam Art Museum. This cover page is dyed in indigo and painted using gold and silver on it. Now, use of indigo in religious painting. And not only indigo, these are the religious paintings. You can see it also in different colors. And Japanese textiles during Nara period. See, Buddhism reached Japan during Asuka period from via China and Korea. The Buddhism reached uh, China in actually it is told that Ashoka's grandson, Emperor Ashoka's grandson, went to Unnan and established Dali kingdom. Today there is place called Tali where there is lot of um, indigo dyed textiles are made. I've been there, and then this is so Buddhism. Then so this is in even before Christ. That's the time when I told you about the route from Assam went to Unnan. Unnan is in southwest China, and it also went to Sichuan. These are the Unnan and Sichuan were separate kingdoms. They were not under China at that time. China was much on north, and they were Han Kingdom was there at that time. Just beginning of Han Kingdom was there at that time. And then during Nara period, Indian monk first time visited Japan and brought. I mean, basically Buddhism was brought at Asuka period, but Nara period first Indian monk went there. Then majority of Nara period textiles were woven textiles. Most complicated patterns were created using brocading technique learned from China. There are few samples of textiles patterned using wax resist batik, but this technique was abandoned by end of next period, i.e. Asuka period. There are also examples of clamp type textiles. And it's very interesting that clamp dyeing was forgotten, which was actually available in the textiles of Nara. One thing I must tell you that Nara period textiles are preserved. They are 8th century textiles are preserved in Shosho in museum, where Nara king of emperor of Nara, I mean Japan actually that time emperor of Japan, and the capital was Nara. Presented his queen after his death, presented all his belongings to this kingdom, and it was preserved in Nara, and it is called now Social in Museum collection. And I have seen that collection exhibition in 2019, 2006, and at least 3 times. Dyed textiles. Kalamkari was kind of, this is just comparatively much recent Kalamkari, and this is from Sri Kalahasti, where text is written in Telugu, and there is a whole episode text is written, and there's one incidence is given, and there are painted textiles like these are pichuai, these are Jain patas. So Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and these are Jain mandala. There are also Buddhist mandalas, and this is, as I showed you, from Nara period. From this is Kujima Dera Temple one, and this is from Korea, Tankha. Tankha painting also went from India to Nepal to Tibet to China to Korea to Japan. That was the route it took. They made in India, especially for Japanese market. Now there were things like earlier pieces you saw that they were brought from India what was already made for Indian market. Now these are made in India for when Europeans came, they also started ordering certain textiles for specific markets. And these are stripes and checks, geometrical things. These are like, and they were so expensive that they could not, people in Japan could not buy the whole pan, whole roll of fabric, or even one whole piece of a bed cover. But they had to cut it up so they could use it in small things, and they became Jodaigiri textiles, means which is like precious textiles, and they were used for making these kind of pouches and things like that for tea ceremony, only used for tea ceremony, very precious. Then auspicious, and then these are the symbols of Japanese symbols which were painted and printed in Coromandel Coast and supplied to Japan. Auspicious Tomoe triple comma pattern, Ogi, the open fan motif symbolizing prosperity, the hexagonal motif symbolizing turtle back for long life. Copies of Indian tints made in Japan. As I told you, they couldn't buy whole textiles. So you can see over the years, Japanese collected Indian textiles and they wanted to make their kimono out of it. So how they made? They stitched all of them like a collage and made one kimono. This is yukata. And if they ran short of pieces, they put this is Yuzen Zome piece made in Japan in between in the left hand side kimono. These are some of the copies of Indian Sarasa made in, there are 4 schools of Vasarasa started. Because it was so expensive, they started making Vasarasa. This is from a museum this is Nabeshima Sarasa from Museum of Saga Prefectural Museum. Then Indian, these are 5 yen, which are supposed to be very, Japanese yen, which are supposed to be so this kind of sarasas were made. And Japanese ladies started making it for their use and for courts, like this particular piece is made in by the court people. Then Nagasaki Sarasa, these are made by Chinese for Japan, and they were staying in Nagasaki. And this is baby's first towel, which I showed you. Then mutual learning. This is like I was learning from Meow Minority how to do Lara painting. This is me. Doesn't look like me, but it is me in 2003. Um, this is some of my work. Quickly, I'll show you. And this I have kind of done my collections using this. And this is, thank you very much. This is with the Princess of Japan. And there's one piece of work I want to show you. This is what I dyed in 1979 in Indian indigo. And it was washed so many times. People say indigo colors fade. Today's indigo colors fade. Even in the shop, you will see a line of where the textile is folded. You will see line of this thing. But this is dyed in 1979, and the color is not faded at all. After washing it every week, I used to wear it when I was doing my research on indigo. And every week I used to wash it in washing machine with high detergents of Japanese detergents, and it still has remained just as it is. The holes have started coming in the cloth, but the color is not faded. That's past our dyeing traditions were and are. This is dyed by me in Indian indigo vat of Yellappa, and then I made some similar vats and dyed my textiles, which also don't fade. Thank you very much. If there is any questions, you can ask me later. I mean, maybe you can put it down. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.